Unlike Russia, which can only use its missiles to fight civilians and destroy residential buildings, the Ukrainian defense forces strike precisely and exclusively at legitimate military targets. Oil depot fires, strikes on FSB headquarters, attacks on enemy logistics, and Ukrainian long-range sanctions. Over 1,500 kilometers from the state border, just this week our drones struck Russian oil refineries, chemical plants, and military facilities. Thank you. From Samara Oblast to Perm-Krai and the occupied Kherson region. What losses the Russian war machine is suffering and why strikes on oil refining are already hitting the aggressor's own pocket will be explained by Sofia Zielinska.
New strikes by the defense forces on several of Russia's strategic sites at once. In Krasnodar Krai, drones attacked an oil terminal. Tamaneftegaz is one of the key export hubs for Russian oil in the Black Sea region. According to preliminary data, an oil loading stand has been damaged.
The Tamaneftegaz terminal is one of the key Russian oil export facilities in the Black Sea region. Its facilities provide for the transshipment of up to 20 million tons of oil and petroleum products per year. The facility is involved in supplying the army of the aggressor state.
The oil pumping station Vitorovo in Russia's Vladimir region also came under attack. After the drone attack, thick black smoke rose above the facility. The station is a key part of the Transneft system and supplies fuel to the Moscow region, as well as Russia's export routes. Defense forces also reported successful strikes on ammunition depots, Russian drone control points, and ships at the Novorossiysk base. According to preliminary data, the patrol ship Paitlivy and a missile boat were damaged. One of the most significant and high-profile drone strikes this week was the attack on the Metafrax chemicals facility in Primorsky Krai. After the drone strike, a fire broke out at the plant and production was halted. According to the Ukrainian side, the plant supplies components to dozens of Russian military manufacturers, from drones and powerful rocket engines to high-grade explosives.
I am grateful to the Security Service of Ukraine for striking one of Russia's important military enterprises. The distance from our border is 1,700 kilometers. This is Perm-Krai. Metafrax Chemicals is an important part of Russia's chemical industry. The products of this enterprise supply dozens of other Russian military manufacturers.
The Russian authorities have confirmed the attack on an industrial facility in the region. Both OSINT and analysts have determined that it was specifically the chemical complex in the city of Gubaka that was hit. This is not the first strike on the enterprise. It was also attacked in the fall of last year and in the winter of this year. Another series of strikes targeted Russian oil refining. In the Samara region, drones attacked the Syzran oil refinery. After the explosions, a massive fire broke out on the premises and thick black smoke rose above the plant. Local residents reported at least 10 explosions. Another
long-range sanction of ours against Russian oil refining. This time it's the Syzran oil refinery. The distance from our border is over 800 kilometers.
Novorossiysk also came under attack this week. After the drone attack, fires broke out at the Grushova and Sheksariz oil terminals, one of the largest oil pumping complexes of Russia's Transneft on the Black Sea. Autumn. Analysts confirmed that the tank farms caught fire. Sheksariz is a key export hub for Russian oil. It is through this hub that the reception, storage, and shipment of oil products onto tankers takes place. And the Grushova Balka is the largest oil storage facility in the Caucasus. Noise also filled the temporarily occupied territories. Ukraine's president reported striking the FSB headquarters in the occupied Kherson region. According to him, consequently, about 100 Russian troops were casualties. The general staff also confirmed a strike on the headquarters of the Rubicon drone special unit in Starobilsk-Luhansk region. This particular unit was responsible for coordinating Russian drone operations in eastern Ukraine.
The Russian FSB headquarters was hit and a Panzer S-1 air defense system was destroyed in our temporarily occupied territory.
Amid these strikes, analysts from the Institute for the Study of War are noting serious problems in Russian military logistics. Due to attacks by Ukrainian drones, the occupation authorities are already restricting the movement of trucks. on the key M14 highway, which connects Russia with occupied Crimea. Ukrainian strikes are increasingly forcing the Russian army to change their supply routes. The consequences of these attacks are already being felt by the Russians themselves. After the Ryazan oil refinery was shut down, people in the city began to complain about a gasoline shortage. According to Reuters, due to Ukrainian drone strikes in central Russia, the country's largest oil refineries have been partially or completely shut down. Altogether, this accounts for almost a quarter of all Russian oil refining. Sofia Zelinska-Podrobitsi TV channel Intermarathon United News.
On the effectiveness of strikes on military targets. I will discuss today's Russian attack on the enemy with Serhii Kuzan, head of the Ukrainian Center for Security and Cooperation. Mr. Serhii, greetings to you. Good evening.
Greetings to you, Alexei. Good evening.
First of all, before we start our conversation, we have a QR code on the screen. Can you explain what this is? Is this for fundraising or something else?
This QR code provides a direct link to the official recruitment resources of the separate presidential brigade named after Bohdan Khmelnytsky. This dedicated unit is currently defending our skies, specifically protecting the city of Kyiv and the surrounding Kyiv region. It is primarily intended for those who live right here, who want to serve in this specific area at their local place of service, and who wish to help reduce, first and foremost, the frequent drone attacks on the capital, the entire region, and all the surrounding areas. This is the best unit specifically for this purpose. Separate brigades are being formed, as well as separate units, including specialized units for working with repairing, servicing, and assembling ground-based robotic systems. And of course, there are also combat units. In other words, every individual will be able to choose from a comprehensive and diverse range of possibilities. Service options range from active combat duty in the east or south to essential rear work at headquarters, or even working directly with interceptor drones, so to speak, directly on the front lines in the field.
Dear viewers, you heard everything yourselves. Please, if you are interested, you can scan the QR code and join. Go ahead. Mr. Serhii, if I may, I would still like to start with the shelling. This is the most important news today. The official statistics from the Air Force are staggering. In total, the enemy launched 690 means of attack, 90 missiles and 600 strike drones of various types. Our air defense downed 604 targets with 44 cruise missiles and 549 drones. However, the main hit was Kyiv. In the capital, over 56 people were injured, damaging homes, and the count has already surpassed 60. And obviously, launching 600 drones in one night is an attempt, so to speak, to deplete our stock of anti-aircraft missiles before the start of summer. How should we respond to this new, so to speak, pardon the expression, quantitative reality? And where is the breaking point of our air defense system under such intensity, of course, if that's something we can discuss?
Yes, not only can we talk about this, but we must, because it is precisely the share of interceptor drone usage in shooting down cruise missiles that really matters. And we also see the regular Shaheds, I mean those very first modifications, Iran. However, at this stage, our interceptor drones can also reach, track, and hunt, for example, the Geran 3 and Geran 4 models. And now we are specifically talking about their jet-powered drones, which are essentially the high-speed analogs of the Shaheds. So in this way, as I have said, the share of drones shot down by our interceptor drones and by our highly skilled professional teams is consistently and steadily increasing, which in principle makes it increasingly more expensive for Russia to continue to use their main strike weapon, the Shahed-type drones. And with such shifting strategic dynamics, of course, launching these Shahed kamikaze drones at us will, in principle, eventually become completely unprofitable and unsustainable for the Russians. This is primarily because a single interceptor drone is 10 or even dozens of times cheaper to produce than a Shahed, making the cost of defense much lower than the attack. Of course, you need several such drones for each target. Of course, you need More specialized training needs to be conducted for small fire teams. That is, it's no longer just a machine gun with an automatic ranging reticle and targeting devices, but now you need to train professional operators. This takes time, but the most important thing is that this process is underway. And the existing operators are improving their skills and constantly training new ones in order to increase the number specifically. That is to significantly expand the total number of these small fire teams and to effectively intercept and neutralize these incoming attacks already in the border areas, so as to let as few as possible reach the heart of the city itself. So yes, regarding the drones, there are actually excellent results here. And by the way, this has already been noted by the Air Force spokesperson Yuri Ihnat. But when it comes to missiles, of course, we do not have an increase, a significant increase, specifically in interceptors, especially when it comes to ballistic missiles. So basically, these are the primary impressions we observed in Kyiv today. Although today, in terms of the strategic use of missiles and advanced anti-missile systems, we are currently the most effective country in the entire world, in all, absolutely all, global conflicts that are ongoing. For example, let's take the Persian Gulf and the Iranian campaign. But quantitatively speaking, our launches do not have enough charges, at least not at the same level as other countries. For example, the countries of the Persian Gulf or the Middle East. Unfortunately, we cannot compare to any of these countries. That is why our missile program remains a priority for the state. And in the meantime, while the state is building up its own capabilities, we should not ignore air raid alerts. We need to take care of our lives, our health, and the well-being of our loved ones.
Mr. Serhii, back to advanced interceptors and noting the QR code on the screen, I have a related question. What about those people who scan the QR code and sign up to join? Will they be trained? Is there a chance they'll be taught using the latest interception methods?
In general, the most advanced tools. This is everything they will be mastering. And by the way, the servicemen of this presidential brigade are already mastering it. It should be noted that the team itself is quite professional. The instructors, all of them are combat veterans. All of them have participated in real battles. And what is important is that this is a healthy, friendly, and supportive team that is focused precisely on results. Therefore, this is undoubtedly an exceptionally proficient army unit that can consistently ensure the delivery of high-quality training. This is evident both on professional, high-quality simulators and also at physical outdoor training grounds.
Mr. Serhii, the Air Force has officially confirmed that the Russians used a medium-range ballistic missile. We are not naming it right now, perhaps because it wasn't written on it. In Bila Tserkva in the Kyiv region, 90 kilometers from the capital. This is already the third instance of such a weapon being used after Dnipro and Lviv, so to speak. Why did Putin once again need to pull out this lever of nuclear blackmail without a nuclear warhead? And what military or political objectives is he pursuing? In your opinion, what was he trying to achieve with this hardware?
Here, we won't be disclosing, let's say, any secret information, but it's no longer a secret. Our state emergency service, our rescuers are already publishing photos. So that local garage cooperative, which was also completely destroyed by this specific missile, is honestly quite hard to call not just a military target, but any kind of legitimate target at all. Therefore, the use of this particular type of missile, I think, was originally intended for, well, a much more, so to speak, strategically valuable target. But in the case of these medium-range ballistic missiles, let me remind you once again, the main warhead is actually designed to carry a nuclear charge. That is, they strike over an area, and those clusters that break apart into smaller missiles, they are all originally designed and intended to carry nuclear warheads. So in principle, they are not that accurate in their targeting. So I do not rule out the possibility that perhaps the Kremlin wanted to destroy, for example, a military airfield or some other large facility However, they definitely failed to do this. And this is yet another, already the third significant disappointment for them. I just want to remind you how worried we were during those times. The looming threats of the first launch, then during the serious threats of the second launch, and now just before this third launch, even the American embassy. It also strongly emphasized the extreme danger, but the actual operational use of this missile did not achieve its primary military objectives. And 100 million. When we look at the big picture, if we talk about the total cost of one such launch, it is fundamentally a massive expense that cannot be justified in any way at all. This is true from a military, economic, or even psychological standpoint, especially when used as a method of psychological pressure.
If we discuss our strikes, we are not merely defending ourselves, we deliver an immediate response. And monitoring channels and the press are already recording successful strikes by our drones on the Vitorovo oil pumping station. This is in the Vladimir region in Russia. So the immediate transfer of the war onto enemy territory is working. Sometimes while sitting in shelters under enemy missile attacks, some of our viewers may understandably lose hope. I literally witnessed such an episode just last night. But how would you assess Ukraine's recent strike operations behind enemy lines, briefly speaking?
To put it very briefly, Vladimir is actually that critical oil processing facility which supplies essential petroleum products and all types of fuel. And in particular, most often it is diesel fuel for the capital city of Moscow and its surrounding areas. If someone in the world had previously said that Ukraine would be able to reach and strike so effectively at such a distance, no one would have believed it possible. One of the most well-protected facilities that supplies essential fuel for all of Moscow, I think there wouldn't have been a single country that would have believed in Ukraine's future capabilities and strength. Today, for us, this is already, so to speak, just another strike and, in fact, another successful hit. And that's wonderful because I wouldn't call it a response here. I would rather call it a plan. And what the Russians tried to do to disrupt our planned drone launches, well, as we can see, they have been completely unsuccessful. All our long-range strikes are continuing exactly according to the plan set by the General Staff.